Hello, I'm Andy, and in this video I will showcase a very interesting build order which features the Howdah elephant and the Indians. The strategy in itself is very fun to play and is also very strong. It's a very micro-intensive build and it also requires a very specific answer to beat. I saw a variation of this build used in a tournament game by H2O and I adapted the build order so I can use it. So because most of you probably have never seen a Howdah elephant in a game, let me introduce my big friend, the Howdah elephant, to you. So the Howdah elephant is basically the Age of Empires 3 equivalent of a tank. It has medium speed, it's very hard to kill, it puts out a lot of damage, and it also looks cool. Also compared to the Virgin Dragoon, he is a real jet. A Dragoon, for example, can only support the army. Compared to the Jet Howdah, he is the army. Okay, now let's get into the build order and some thoughts on how to play it and how to counter it. Okay, so you start the build order pretty normal, so you gather all the resources, send 5 to wood and all new villagers to food. Continue to produce villagers, and if you have 800 food, build a karni with 4 villagers and try to secure 2 gold mines with the radius. During age up, continue to produce villagers and send 2 to 3 of the new villagers to gold. After that, send the new ones to food. Once you hit age 2, the first thing you do is send your 700 gold. Once that arrives, you should have enough resources to click up to age 3, and I usually use the Agra fort to age up to age 3. Depending on what the enemy is doing, if he's playing aggressive in age 2, you can do that Agra fort in your base to secure your base. And if he's going for a fast fortress himself, you can go into the middle and secure the map control. I usually use 3 to 4 villagers to age up. In this video I still use the Taj Mahal to age up. That's also a variant you can go for, but I think the Agra fort is the better choice because then you secure map control and are much more safe for enemy aggression. The fort is also a safe place to retreat your army to, and you are generally more safe against enemy aggression. Also you get 5 Gurkhas, which really supplement your Howdahs in the early age 3. Okay, so your third card usually will be 700 wood. You need the wood to build a consulate, to build market and to build houses. Usually you won't need a stable because when you have the Agra fort you can build your Howdahs there. If you aged up with Taj Mahal, you will need a stable. You will need many houses because your elephants cost very much population, so keep that in mind. During age up to age 3 you send some villagers from food to gold and you send all new villagers to gold. I still keep at least 6 villagers on food. When you have around 7 to 8 villagers on gold, then the next new one should go on food again. Once you build a consulate, get the British allies, and as soon as you can get your surgeons, get the surgeons out. Usually you will have your surgeons at around 7 to 8 minutes after you've got your first Howdahs. Okay, talking about the Howdahs, once you are in the fortress age, you start your Howdah production immediately in the fort, and you also send the 2 Howdah cards as soon as you can. With the first batch of Howdahs you want to get at least 2 out, but obviously the more the better. Once you have some Howdahs out, start attacking the enemy. You want to be as annoying as possible, so you want to deny hunts, you want to attack the gold mines, or you want to trade with his army. Remember, only trade your HP and don't lose your Howdahs. When your Howdahs are getting low HP, so for example under 30%, send them back and use your monks or your surgeons to heal them up. When your 2 siege elephants arrive, you can start to apply some real pressure, because then you can siege down buildings and force him to engage your army. Siege elephants are also a unit which is very hard to replace for you, because you have to get out a castle first, which means you have to protect them and don't lose them. It's easier for you to replace a Howdah than a siege elephant. Okay, so what is the strategy in a nutshell? You send your Howdahs forward, you trade your HP for his units, then once some Howdahs get low HP, you send them back and heal them up with your monks and your surgeons, and once they are full HP again, you move forward again and trade again. If you micro correctly, you shouldn't lose many Howdahs and he will lose his units, and so slowly your army should be getting bigger and bigger and his army should be getting smaller and smaller. Okay, so let's quickly talk about card progression and decks. There are some core cards which you need in your deck, which are obviously Mercantilism, 700 gold, 700 wood, 2 Howdahs, then the Elephant cards and 2 Siege Elephants. You also might want to have the Mahouts and the Urumis, but the rest of your deck you're free to decide on what you want to have. Okay, now some closing thoughts. I think the strategy is very fun to play because you're not losing any units. For the same reason, it's also very frustrating to play against, because you kind of feel helpless against those OP Howdahs. Your best bet against this kind of strategy is to get a big mass and try to two-shot the enemy elephants. Also, it's advised to use dragoons and not skirmishers, because with dragoons you can follow the enemy Howdahs when they are trying to retreat, and with skirmishers you can't do that. Also, if you manage to snipe the 2 siege elephants, you slow down the push immensely, because they are not going to replace them very easily and very fast. I also lost one time against someone who just made mass pikes, because Howdahs can't really kite pikemen. But then again, if you make mass pikemen and the Indian player sends their roomies, you're in a world of hurt. Those are just my thoughts about this build. I obviously haven't optimized the build too much, so there are optimized versions of it on ESOC by H2O, and you can use that if you want to use that build really competitively. But the version of this build works fine until you reach like 1400, then it might be getting difficult to pull this off. Out of the 5 games I've tried this build, I only lost once, and it was against the pikemen, where I didn't adapt and still sent my Howdahs first instead of my Urumis. Again, the reason why this build is so successful is because you need a very specific answer, and yeah, most people have never seen this build or know how to play against it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments, and I will see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching, and bye bye!